In today's video, we're tackling a fix to my dad's Craftsman 1/2" ratchet. It's a 44/985. Sadly, Dad's no longer with us. And when I found this, it was slipping in both directions. Now, I was able to get that sort of fixed, but I want to tear it down again today, show you how it comes apart. It's pretty simple. There's not a lot of pieces on these. And then I'm going to talk about putting it back together and try and show that in detail. I've also got a donor ratchet that I purchased. It's the same model. And I think there's probably some parts inside this that might be in better shape than what is inside of my dad's. So we may borrow parts from this one to rebuild this one, because I want to keep the one that was in Dad's hand. One thing you'll notice on my dad's ratchet, there's a C with an underline in the either stamped or it's in the casting. I can't really tell. The donor ratchet has a K, so I don't know if that may be signifying which year each of these were made. If you know, please hit me with some knowledge in the comments. First step we're going to take is try and remove this little cover. I need to get this snap ring that's recessed here. Best tool for the job is a snap ring plier. So I've got this kind of vintage Craftsman snap ring pliers. Tools for fixing tools. If you don't have snap ring pliers, you could try maybe a really pointy needle nose you might be able to get in there. I could probably make these ones work. Or even in a pinch, like a couple small screwdrivers, or like I've got 2 scratch owls here, and you could kind of like try and chopsticks to do that. But easiest thing will be if you have a snap ring plier. So I'm going to, easier said than done though, seriously. There we go. So that popped out, and then this comes off. This should pull straight out. You can just start to see kind of one side of the pawl. That pawl is controlled by this lever, and that limits that it can only go rotary in one direction at a time. So we'll move this kind of in the middle, and then we're going to try and remove a snap ring on this side. This side I am going to try and use the needle nose. Popped it loose. So that kind of, there's a groove in this lever, and this thing kind of rides down on top of it, and then you have to pinch it to get it into place. So there's that. We've got this, and this. Now we got to remove this pawl. This again is what engages with this ring gear, and when it's levered in either direction, lets it spin one way or the other. Spin or lock. So, and then if you look carefully, you can see down here there's a ball bearing that's under spring pressure that keeps this pushed up. So it's kind of locked in position, unless you push it hard across with the lever to go in the other direction, right? You can see the lever has this little embossed area that fits into here, and the pawl I think is reversible. It could turn over the other direction if you wanted. It would still work. So I'm going to try and pop that loose. Hopefully you can see that. And you can see, just be careful, this ball bearing came out. And if you look in here, there's a spring. I'm going to try and pull that spring out, because the spring was kind of damaged when I had it apart before, and hopefully I can use the spring that's in the donor ratchet. There. Came out. You can see the end of this spring is kind of tweaked. This used to be the end that was sticking out, and I think over time it must have gotten snagged by the pawl and maybe pulled out a little bit, and maybe the ball bearing came out of position and wasn't holding this thing firmly where it needed to be, so the ring gear was slipping. So unless the one in the donor ratchet is worse than this, I'm going to replace both of these pieces from the donor into Dad's old ratchet. So that's the game plan, at least. So I'm going to move all of these parts over here that I want to keep, and then I'm going to take apart the donor ratchet. This pawl looks better to me, so we will reuse this piece. I'm going to try and dig this spring out of here, and then we can start reassembly. Okay, so that spring came right out and it looks nice and straight, so it's in much better shape. So we'll put these pieces aside. We're not using these. We're trying to keep as much from the original ratchet intact. These are original pieces, but we're going to replace those. So I've already cleaned out the inside of this. It was pretty gummed up with like petroleum-based grease. So I think as I put this back together, I will put some grease in it. But I'm going to use this Super Lube Synthetic Grease because it will last longer. It will hold up better over time. It won't get as gummy and sticky inside there. So it should operate better. I'll put a link to this in the description. Getting the spring, ball bearing, and the pawl back into the ratchet, for me, was the most tricky part when I had it apart before. So I'll try and show you how I did that. There may be other tricks to it, but I'm going to show you what I was able to do. Just putting a little bit of grease on this spring. And I'm just dropping it in there. Hopefully you can see that. What I'm going to do is put this bearing on the end of my finger, press it down on top of the spring, and easier said than done. And then it needs to press all the way down into that recess to make room for the pawl. So I've got that with my finger. I don't know if you can see it, but I've kind of got it in there. Now I'm moving this tiny screwdriver into position. I'm going to drop the pawl in upside down. And then with a screwdriver, I'm going to try and turn it into position. There it is. So I was able to hold this ball into the hole the best I could with this tiny screwdriver, and then turn the pawl counterclockwise, and just as this leading edge of it started to cover the ball, it pushed the screwdriver out of the way and moved into position. So I struggled with this a lot the first time I did it, and I came up with that. That's the hardest part of putting one of these back together for me, but that seems to work. So if you can kind of get it into position with your finger, then slide a thin small screwdriver down there to hold it in place. Drop that pawl in upside down because you've got enough clearance for the screwdriver and the ball bearing. And then at the same time as you're holding that, another screwdriver in your other hand and rotate that pawl into position. So hopefully that's that's a good trick for you. There's probably other ways to do it, but that's what worked for me. I may put another dab of grease in here. Doesn't need to be too much, I don't think, but all right. So before we put this gear lever back on, I am going to clean that. It's kind of got some dried grease on it, so I'm just going to take a little bit of acetone on a piece of blue shop towel. Okay, got kind of most of that off. I'm going to try and do Q-tip. Kind of get into the nooks and crannies. You can see all that grease that I got off of there on both the Q-tip and the shop towel. So that's better. Let's at least be as thorough as we can if we're going to the trouble of making a video. So yeah, I've just got the snap ring on top of the lever here. There's a groove all the way around it. Maybe we'll try and move this kind of in the sort of middle position here. Then I can kind of just slide it straight in. I mean, that wasn't very graceful. Probably wasn't good camera work, but it is in place. All right, so that part is done. Now, this is like the really easy part. We're just gonna drop this guy in, but I'm gonna put some of this Super Lube grease on there again. Just put some around the gear, the ring gear itself. Just a couple dabs here and there, and then we'll work that in with our fingers. A little bit along the bottom here. That should be really good. Alright, so this guy with our button is going to drop straight through. Okay, just like the snap ring for the lever, we're going to put it over this piece here. I grab the ends of it with my needle nose, and I'm going to squeeze it and try and drop it into place. That is it. It's all buttoned up. It's a little quieter because I've got some grease in there. There's not quite as much clicking on the gears, metal on metal, because there's a little bit of a grease cushion, but it feels nice and solid. So that is it. Should be back in business for many years to come. But this one is special because it was Dad's, and I think he'd be happy to see that we're going to keep using it. So I hope this helped you. Please like and subscribe, leave some comments, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.